Happy Thursday, here we go. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate the faithful for making today's show a part of your day. And it's another great one on the Niners Report Rundown. Here's everything that we're going to be unpacking on today's show. And a little bit earlier, we did give you the latest right here on the 49ers Report on the search for a new defensive coordinator to take over for Steve Wilks. Really a long profile on Kris Sorensen, who might be the guy, or Nick Sorensen, who might be the guy for San Francisco if Kyle Shanahan elects to hire an internal defensive coordinator. And today on our live show, former Niners players who San Francisco could bring back, reunite with in NFL free agency. We have 5 to get to. We have a new Brandon Aiyuk trade update, and we're going to get into our NFL draft bag. I'm going to the Combine next week in Indianapolis. John Lynch going to speak with the media if Kyle Shanahan actually goes this year, because he has not over the last couple of years. We'll speak with him as well. We'll also catch up with some draft prospects, and I'm going to try to talk to Jerry Rice's son, and I'm going to try to communicate with a lot of offensive linemen, because in a year where the Niners need to bulk up in the trenches along the offensive line, right guard, right tackle, this is a very deep offensive lineman draft class. So we're going to take a look at 5 offensive linemen, right tackle, right guard, who the Niners could look to pinpoint in April's NFL draft. As part of segment number 1, the former Niners who San Francisco could reunite with, we're talking Emmanuel Mosley, current cornerback with the Detroit Lions, Kendrick Bourne, free agent, New England Patriots, Azeez Al-Shaair. Could he take over for Dre Greenlaw after Greenlaw popped that Achilles in the Super Bowl? Quan Alexander. And then Trent Brown becomes an interesting option. If the Niners want to fortify right tackle, I think they have to, and I mean have to, upgrade from Colton McKivitz. With that, let's pivot over to the comment section here. Shout out to all the real ones who are hanging out. Mike Concho throwing some jokes in the chat. You always like to see that. BK from the Bay, it's been a little while. Ramio, Jonathan Lamont Page, always a real one. Robert Sis, Tim McGuire, Blazing Glory, Dwayne Witherspoon, Gina G is back, but let us know where you're watching from. We'll start to give you some shout-outs, and I'll throw it to my right-hand man, producer Jake Chipper, who's also hanging out. 49ers Report Live. He's pretty much permanently replaced Trizzy Trace as the producer for myself, and it's good to have him here with us.
Oh.
Chip, what up, man?
That's, Trace wouldn't like that one. Trace wouldn't like that one.
It's the truth, though. You produce for me more than Trace does nowadays. Now, I will be with Trace at the NFL Combine.
Just the truth. Just the truth.
Chip's
How
been
we
with
doing?
us more.
How we doing?
See where the people are watching from here. WWE fan is in Tennessee. Steven Sierra, Bay Area. Gina G said, hi, Chip. Lore, Hamilton, California. Manila, Arkansas, I believe, from Guy in the comments. Fresno, California, from Helen Jackson. J.A., Orlando, Florida. Gina G, the OG, Chino Hills, California. BK from the Bay, originally from the Bay, but as we know, Little Rock, Arkansas for the legend. Tacoma, Washington from Ken. Mike Concho typing Chip. Hanson Ho, Hawaii. San Diego, stay classy from Mint Eastwood. Frankfurt, Germany from Ranger Lead the Way. That's very cool. Christopher Hajostek. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, from Montana. And then Ontario, Canada from Shane Decker. Continue to let us know where you're watching from. J.A. said, yeah, buddy, thanks for the shout out. Yeah, buddy.
Yes,
and
sir.
Thank you for watching the show, my guy. As you venture in here, support the show for free by hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. Now, we talked about those 5 former Niners who San Francisco could bring back in NFL free agency. We're also going to get to the latest on Brandon Aiyuk. And there's this snippet from NFL draft expert Matt Miller, who, of course, has a good idea of what's going on in NFL circles around the league as we shift our offseason focus to the Combine next week, free agency after that, and then the NFL draft. Matt Miller said, man, I think there's a possibility that Aiyuk gets traded. I don't want to be the guy who says Brandon Aiyuk gets traded, but there's a lot of smoke there right now. So I at least think it's possible, if not probable, he gets dealt on draft night. We've seen it before, A.J. Brown, players like that. So I do think there's at least a possibility, and if so, wide receiver becomes the biggest need for the 49ers in the NFL draft. Very interesting stuff right there. Now let's get to our Super Chat menu. You want to have a party on a Thirsty Thursday? I'm completely down. Here's our Super Chat menu for our live show. All Super Chats get a shout out. All $10 Super Chats throughout the entire month of February put you into a raffle to win a Niners jersey. $50, you will sign our San Francisco 49ers helmet right here. We only have one person who signed it so far, Colby, thanks to Izzy B. And whoever sends in the most $100 Super Chats throughout the entire month of February, we will send you a customized 49ers Report football. So that right there is our Super Chat menu. Appreciate everybody for hanging out here with us, and we'll start the official show in just a bit. BK from the Bay, Chase, this show is the best. BK, I appreciate that. I know you've been around for a long time, really, since I can remember, and this is my third season covering the Niners, about to be the fourth, because I'm not going anywhere going into 2024. And I think that we give the people a really good product. Of course, there are always going to be haters out there, but there are plenty of other content options for the haters. For all the real ones, if you want informative, insightful, entertaining analysis, I think what we do here is very, very special. So thank you, BK from the Bay. Jim Everett is back in the chat. BK from the Bay, draft Jerry Rice's son. As I said, going to try to catch up with him. Brendan Rice at a USC at the Combine. Trip Aces, you guys need to replace Dre Greenlaw ASAP. Well, guess what? We're going to talk about two players who could replace him. Rick Nyers, I'll sign that soon. Rick, we'd love to get you on this helmet. This thing is badass, and maybe we're going to give this away during NFL free agency. I think that makes a lot of sense for us. Brandon Cruz, great content. Chase, thank you very much. Chip, what up, man?
Hold on, Chase. I'm hearing something. Bosses told me we can actually offer a special deal on today's live show. This Justin, what do we got? $200 total on today's show.
All right.
We're getting the 49ers Report Q&A.
So the bosses are saying if we get the $200 in total Super Chats, we did 100 on Tuesday. We get to 200 today. We'll do a extra segment. Q&A with the homies, Q&A with the real ones, and we'll take your questions, and you can ask me anything. Draft, free agency, what I like outside of work. Let's do it. Steven Sierra, Chase is the place. I'd like that on a shirt. Would you buy it? Y for yes, N for no. My guy Haberman, was saying that he's going to start selling hats with Guy on there. I think that's a terrific idea. If you don't want to send in a Super Chat, other ways to support the show without having to send in a Super Chat, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. You can comment and share your thoughts like Jonathan Lamont Page, Rick Nyers, Steven Sierra, Gina G, Steve Moore. Those are the recent commenter club people. You can share the video. Most importantly, be a real one. Lastly, as part of us previewing what's on the docket for our live programming schedule here today, Niners offensive line targets in the draft. We're going to talk players that I think the Niners should pinpoint in the draft to bulk up offensive line, the biggest weakness for this team right now, and the biggest weakness for the San Francisco 49ers over the last 2 years, yet just inexplicable how they did not draft a single offensive lineman last year. Graham Barton out of Duke, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, Amarius Mims, raw prospect who's tantalizing out of Georgia, Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma, Troy Fatanu, guard out of Washington. More information on all those players coming up here in just a little bit. Bang, bang, Niner gang, Niner Empire, faithful. If you're ready to start the show, I need everybody watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Are you ready to start the show? I'm ready to talk some Niners. Can we get to 100 likes? ASAP. We have 140 people watching live, 40 likes right now. That means that we need 61 more people, or 60 more people, excuse me. I was looking at somebody unliked the video, went down to 39. So 61 likes away from 100. Can we get there in the next minute? We're already up to 54. Continue to pepper that thumbs up icon. Like the video. I know Gina G liked the video. The Bowtie Chaplain hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I imagine Bryant Culp has his own Niners YouTube channel. Check him out. Mike Honcho, Killahunter Ray, 49ers Red and Gold, all liking the video. And let me throw a deal out there. Over the next 5 minutes, if we get a $50 super chat, we're bringing back a shotgun. Boom! Rick Nyers, $50 super chat. How do you like my helmet? Bang, bang, Niner gang. And how about his profile picture right here? That's the helmet that he's referring to. And Rick Nyers, we're putting his name on this helmet right here. So we're 150 away from doing a mailbag. And we're going to put RN on the Niner helmet here. $50 gets you one. And Rick, we're also going to get you a raffle ticket because any super chat that comes in throughout the entire month of February, $10 or more, you get in the running to win a Niners jersey. We want to give something away for one of our loyal subscribers here. So we'll let the ink dry on that gold sticker. We'll shotgun at some point as well. Happy Dad going down the hatch. We're up to 71 likes, now 72. Continue to like the video. Let's get to 100. Segment number 1, former Niners players that San Francisco could bring back in free agency. What'd you say? There you go. Boom. Rick Nyers, appreciate that, my Brody. Let's get the official show started. Let's have a Weird Thirsty Thursday on National Margarita Day. Let's talk some Niners right now. All right, let's do it. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for hanging out here with us. Coming up on the show, some former Niners players that San Francisco can bring back in NFL free agency. This is why you subscribe to the channel, though. We do it all right here on the Niners Report, from news and analysis to breaking news coverage to Niners draft content, 49ers free agency intel, and during the season, watch parties for every single game. More than 2 million views for our Super Bowl watch party between the Niners and the Chiefs. We also do a couple of live shows. And because this channel has been so successful, because of all of you continuing to support what I do, we've been pushing out 2 shows per day, a lot of days of the week, because the views are so good and we want to continue to give you some great content. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go into the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis next week. Lock us in for some more terrific Niners coverage. To our list of former Niners who San Francisco could reunite with in NFL free agency. I'd say that cornerback is a sneaky need for San Francisco. So how about going back to Emmanuel Moseley, who unfortunately for him has had a couple of injury-plagued seasons in 2023 as well as in 2022. Niners picked him up originally as a UDFA out of Tennessee in 2018. And what a great signing that ended up being, because Emmanuel Moseley developed into a very solid cornerback for this Niners defense. 6 games played, though, over the last 2 years. And for him, it's been an unfortunate stretch, because before he tore his ACL in 2022 with San Francisco, he was playing great ball. And he actually got hurt when he was playing against the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte, when he had a bunch of his family members and friends there to support him, because he's from that area, and tore his ACL then, and then tore his ACL with the Detroit Lions. Both of those ACL tears have come on turf surfaces, and we know that San Francisco is very, very picky about the types of surfaces they practice on, a la what happened in the lead up to the Super Bowl, as well as the surfaces that they play on for actual games. In-depth information on Moseley here. Prior to that injury in his last year with San Francisco, he had a Pro Football Focus coverage grade of 73.5. Excellent numbers. And in 2021 and in 2022 combined, he gave up just 1 touchdown in coverage with 11 pass breakups. Why I'd entertain bringing him back, because of the injuries, you can get him at a very cheap price, but he's also very versatile at a position that you probably need to fortify. Inside, outside, perimeter, slot versatility for him. Obviously, he would come to the Niners with a lot of concerns. But if you're not paying him all that much money, then I'd certainly explore this. The injury history is there, but the upside, you get a cheap player who's affordable, who is really good when healthy, knows the system, and we know that he can ball. Now to Kendrick Bourne. For him, I understood why he left to sign with the New England Patriots in free agency a couple of years ago, because he earned the opportunity to really cash in. And Jauan Jennings is the Niners wide receiver 3. We'll see what happens with Brandon Aiyuk this offseason. Jennings is going to be a restricted free agent. If another team gives him the bag and that price tag is way too high for what the Niners are willing to give him, San Francisco might have their hand forced to the point where they need to let Jauan Jennings walk. And if they let him go because other teams see how Jauan Jennings is so clutch on third downs, how he's tough and rugged as a run blocker, how he's been so clutch for this football team, and how he played in the Super Bowl where he was arguably, outside of Brandon Aiyuk, the Niners' best wide receiver, then Kendrick Bourne is an option, because really, Kendrick Bourne was Jauan Jennings for the Niners before Jauan Jennings. Last 4 years for Bourne, in 2023, only 8 games played, 55 targets, 37 catches, 406 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Year before that, as Mac Jones has just really struggled to start his career, 48 targets, 35 catches, 434 yards, and a touchdown. But then you look back at what he did in 2021, as well as in 2022. I believe Kendrick Bourne, in a good offense that's not inept like New England's has been, with better quarterback play, like a Brock Purdy, he can get back to this sustained level of play. Where in 2020 and 2021, he had 70-plus targets, 49 catches in 2020, 55 in 2021, 667 yards in 2020 with 2 touchdowns, and in 2021, 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. Why would the Niners go this route? Again, he was kind of Jauan Jennings before Jauan Jennings. Swagger, toughness, a willingness to get downfield and block for the ball carrier behind him. Good wide receiver out of the slot. And if you lose Jennings, he would fulfill that role. Kendrick Bourne knows the system. Still only going to be 29 years old, and the Pats' offense was dreadful. So it's really hard to gauge what type of player he is right now, but I believe that Kendrick Bourne could still be a pretty solid player inside Kyle Shanahan's system. Regardless of what happens and who the Niners sign, we're going to talk about every single rumor, every single report, every single addition to this Niners roster, and we're going to the NFL Scouting Combine, so make sure you subscribe for some elite Niners content right here on the Niners Report, and let's get to 131,000 subscribers as soon as possible. More former Niners to discuss, potentially reuniting with this organization in free agency. But first, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app and the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on the projected stat lines, and you get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Unfortunately, the football season is in the rear view, but I'm excited for the Major League Baseball season. Not as much as Jack Lotteray here at Chat Sports, but I can't wait to watch some baseball. So let's talk about some baseball prize picks. Austin Riley, more than 35.5 jacks. Freddie Freeman, more than 26.5 taters. Freddie Freeman, also more than 176.5 hits. Ronald Acuna, reigning MVP in the NL, more than 37.5 home runs. And Aaron Nola, more than 195.5 strikeouts for the season for the Phillies. Easy and exciting daily fantasy, all made possible thanks to Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Link is hanging out and dangling in the comment section and in the description of this video. This former Niner is the player that I'm interested in the most, and that is Azeez Al-Shaair, who followed Ran Carthon, who used to be a member of this Niners front office from 2017 to 2022. Then he became the general manager for Tennessee and Nashville. And Azeez Al-Shaair followed him because Ran Carthon recognized and realized Al-Shaair is a criminally underrated player. He was overshadowed by the great Fred Warner as well as Dre Greenlaw. But Azeez Al-Shaair last year had an opportunity to prove himself as a starting backer in this league, and he took off with that opportunity. I think that Azeez Al-Shaair would be a great option to take over for Dre Greenlaw. Interesting and fun story here. They roomed together while at training camp when both were playing with San Francisco. In a full-time starting role with Tennessee last year under head coach Mike Vrabel, who was let go, 5th in the NFL in tackles and 5th in tackles for loss. He just has this ability to put his nose wherever the football is and to read and diagnose plays. He was also a pretty solid pass rusher and not afraid to fill the run gaps. And Azeez Al-Shaair is still a young player. He turns 27 years old in August. You look at what he's done over the last 4 years, and we saw the ability with San Francisco. When he had to fill in for Dre Greenlaw a couple of years ago, I thought he was awesome. And in 2021, when he really played a lot, 13 games played, 102 tackles for the Niners, 9 TFLs, 2 sacks, and 5 pass breakups. The year before that, you saw some flashes of what he was capable of. And then in 2022, 13 games played, he was banged up a little bit, 43 tackles and a TFL. But look at what he did for Tennessee last year in a really good AFC conference. 163 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, tying his career high, which he notched in 2021. Again, 5th in the NFL in that category. 2 sacks, some quarterback pressures and hurries, 4 pass breakups. So good against the run, good against the pass. The issue here with Al-Shaair, with how well he played, he's looked at in NFL league circles by front offices as a player who is really starting to blossom as a late bloomer who could really be a starting quality backer who other teams are probably going to be willing to pay on a multi-year deal. And Azeez Al-Shaair may have outpriced himself for what San Francisco is willing to fork over as far as the cash flow. But good news here. If you want another former Niner in the building, Kwon Alexander can be had for a very cheap and affordable price. Injury issues for him over the last few years have robbed him of his fullest potential. If you remember, the Niners actually signed him to a 4-year, $54 million contract going into 2019. He got banged up that year, played for the Niners 2019, came back for that playoff run, played in the divisional round, NFC Championship game, as well as in the Super Bowl. But then he was a trade deadline acquisition in 2020 when the Niners traded him to the New Orleans Saints, as the Saints, with the Niners not playing well, looked to bulk up that roster for a potential playoff run. But Kwon Alexander got hurt for New Orleans that year, and then this year, while playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he tore his Achilles in Week 10. Obviously, same injury as Dre Greenlaw, but it happened much earlier than Greenlaw. So maybe Kwon Alexander wouldn't be ready for Week 1, but maybe he'd be ready at some point early in the year. He's played 22 games, though, in the last 3 years. But if you're looking for a cheap veteran linebacker who has familiarity with the organization, familiarity with the system, who could come back maybe for the start of the season, if not at some point in the early portion of it, then Kendrick Bourne, Azeez Al-Shaair, Kwon Alexander, Emmanuel Mosley, all these guys have question marks, but they could be options for this football team in the free agency period. And the same can be said for our 5th former Niner, and that is Trent Brown. When he was with the Niners previously, didn't tap into his fullest potential. He really didn't realize that potential until he was with the Oakland Raiders at the time and then the New England Patriots. But Trent Brown spent his first 3 years with the Niners, making 28 starts during that time frame, won a Super Bowl with New England in the 2018 season, made it to the Pro Bowl in 2019, signed a big deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, and then that just ended up being a disaster. So he went back to New England, where he's been over the last couple of years. But New England is kind of entering this rebuilding, retooling phase. So the Patriots voided his contract, making Trent Brown a free agent. But he played really good football for that lackluster Patriots offense this past year. He was one of the bright spots. 579 snaps at left tackle, so obviously he'd have to play right tackle for San Francisco. Only penalized twice. Gave up 3 sacks, 6 hits allowed for that vanilla offense, 17 pressures, a Pro Football Focus grade of 80.2, run blocking grade of 80.7, and a pass blocking grade of 72.8. While he's starting to enter the tail end of his career, and I still think he has some good football left, if the Niners want to fortify right tackle in free agency, they can do it with Trent Brown, who played right tackle for the Niners when he was here previously. So that's 5 former Niners that San Francisco could bring back in free agency, which is set to begin about the second week of March. Which former Niner do you want the Niners to bring back? Let me know by dropping me a name down below in the comment section. And as you venture down there, don't forget to subscribe. All right, good stuff. Some super chats to get to here. Timon the Buckeye is back. What's up, Timon? Brent Smith, Mr. Block Ice. Clarzard 49. The Bowtie Chaplain. BMW, Joseph Talmage, one of our first commenters all the time. And Jermaine Minity, all in the building right now. Our super chat menu. All super chats get a shout out. $10, and it's only one $10 super chat, gets you into a raffle to win a Niners jersey from us. $50, like Rick Nyers and Izzy B, we put a gold sticker for you on a Niners helmet. $100, 49ers Report February MVP. Chase, what is that? The person who sends in the most $100 super chats this month wins a customized football from us that we'll sign and we'll send it to you. And if we get to $200 total on today's show, we'll do a Q&A, a mailbag with all of our real subscribers here. So we're up to $60 right now. $10 coming in for Blazing to Glory. We'll give him a raffle ticket to win a Niners jersey. And working off of our last segment, he said Emmanuel Mosley for the win. I like the thought of Emmanuel Mosley. And let's go to Rick Nyers' gold sticker here. We're going to put that on the helmet.
Yes, sir.
Rick Nyers, RN, on the Niners helmet. Let's get it. 200 people watching live. 1 like away from 100. Who's going to be the person that gets us there? Swap Armstead for Buckner from Joji. It was a mistake, no doubt, in trading away DeForest Buckner and deciding to keep Eric Armstead. Armstead's been a great player. Captain, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. What is that, 4 years in a row? Very impactful player, but just not to the likes of DeForest Buckner. It's just as simple as that.
Blazing to Glory, another $10.
Another 10. That's another raffle ticket. So every 10 is one raffle ticket to win a Niners jersey. And if anybody sends in a super chat of $10 or more, like Rick Nyers with the 50, that also gets you a ticket. I want that jersey from Blazing to Glory. That's awesome. And I think it would be pretty electric if we got all those $10 super chats and then we announced the winner on the show, on one of our live shows.
That'd be electric. I want to make a deal with the people. It's a Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah.
It's a Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah.
Hey, if someone matches Rick, sends in a 50 during this second segment here, I'll do a little beer bong for Thirsty Thursday. I'll beer bong a Happy Dad. I'll get in on the action. And you get to sign the helmet as well.
And that $50 super chat will make Chip drink, and then it'll go for a round of margaritas on National Margarita Day. Woo! For me, Chip, Trace, and a couple of other Chat Sports homies. You already know.
All
right, segment number 2 coming up. What are we about to talk about? Well, let's get to it right now. Oh! Steven Sierra, Blazing to Glory, both sending in a $50 super chat. And let's give them a San Francisco. Steven. Thank you, Coop.
Yes, sir.
Blazing. All right,
Whoa.
Steven and Blazing to Glory both getting some stickers to go on the helmet. Let's go SS on a gold sticker, and then we'll go B2G, Blazing to Glory. We'll let that ink dry, and then we'll put these helmets or put the stickers on the helmet right there. Let's go!
That's crazy. They wasted no time.
$30 away from a free mailbag right here on the show. We'll do a bonus segment. I love it. I love it. We're having fun on National Margarita Day. And now we're getting some marks for the office with those $50 super chats. Thanks for supporting the show and feeding our drinking habits. All right, segment number 2. Let's get it. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, we have a new Brandon Aiyuk trade update. And are the 49ers going to target quarterback Kirk Cousins in NFL free agency? Don't start ripping me in the comment section. Just wait until we talk about it, because I am going to defend Brock Purdy, who I think is the franchise guy for this football team. As for the latest on Brandon Aiyuk, in case you just have been so heartbroken after that Super Bowl 58 loss to Kansas City, there's a possibility that Aiyuk gets dealt. Why is that? Well, 2024 is going to be the final year of Aiyuk's contract after San Francisco exercised the 5th-year option because he was a first-round pick, 25th overall back in 2020. He is due, because of that 5th-year option kicking in, $14 million guaranteed if he just plays out the remainder of his deal. That could change if the Niners do give him the contract extension that he deserves and wants and is seeking. Aiyuk is coming off a career year, so Spotrac estimating that Aiyuk's new deal is going to pay him about $23 million per year. I think the starting asking price a couple of months ago was $20 million on an average annual value basis, but because Aiyuk had a career season this year, really solidified himself as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, that asking price has gone up. As for why a Brandon Aiyuk trade would happen, a lot of you are probably watching this saying the Niners took him in the first round, former JUCO product. They saw something special in him at Arizona State. They've invested so much time in developing him. A lot of us have seen how Kyle Shanahan was so pumped up on draft night in 2020 after the Niners got their guy. All those things are true. But this Niners roster is getting increasingly expensive. They're not going to be able to pay and afford everybody. So if the Niners don't want to pay Brandon Aiyuk, or if the Niners are blown away by a trade offer from another team in which they're offering San Francisco a first-round pick, they could look to trade him and address a position like right tackle, or get a Brandon Aiyuk replacement in the first round, because that would become a massive need, and you're paying that wide receiver a fraction of the price as compared to either $14 million in year 5 for Aiyuk or about $23 million per year for Brandon Aiyuk. So financially, that makes sense. And then lastly, I think the only reason Aiyuk does get traded is if he wants out, where he wants wide receiver 1 money and wide receiver 1 targets, and the Niners are like, we can't afford that, and we can't promise you those targets. We'll send you somewhere else, and we can get a first-rounder back. Aiyuk in 2023 was spectacular, and I feel really good about my evaluation of Aiyuk because 2 years ago I was saying I think he's better than CD Lamb. I think he has the potential because of the route running, footwork, vertical speed, him being elusive, being able to pick up yards after the catch, to be a top 10 wideout in the game, and he's turned into that. And this year we really saw it with some of these deep dive numbers that the casuals never look at. Yards per catch, number 2. Yards per target, number 2. Pro Football Focus wide receiver grade, he was only behind Tyreek Hill. EPA for all wide receivers, number 2. Receiving yards, number 7. And what I love about Aiyuk, he was the number 1 highest graded run-blocking wide receiver in the NFL. And you know Kyle Shanahan loves that effort, loves him being gritty, loves him being tough, and he really exemplifies what the Niners want in their football players. Developmental story, ended up being an elite player, and he cares and he tries hard and he does what we ask him to do. And you take a gander at what Aiyuk's been able to accomplish his first 4 years in the NFL, he's literally gotten better and better every single season. From a production standpoint, mostly a touchdown standpoint, but a yard standpoint. And what's so impressive about what he did in 2023, Christian McCaffrey had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. Deebo Samuel had more than 1,000 all-purpose yards. George Kittle had a 1,000-yard season for the first time since 2019. Jawan Jennings got some targets, yet Aiyuk was 7th in receiving yards in a run-heavy system with 1,342, but he also developed into a great long ball threat for Brock Purdy. That's one of the reasons why I don't want to see Aiyuk go anywhere, because that kinship with Purdy is really important as we project forward. And there's no question about this right now. Brandon Aiyuk, ladies and gentlemen, is the best wide receiver on the San Francisco 49ers. But as far as paying him, if the asking price starts at $23 million per year, are the Niners looking at him as a true number one wideout across the entire NFL? Would you put him in the category with Justin Jefferson? Would you put him in the same category as a Jamar Chase, as a Devontae Adams, as a Cooper Kupp? Because to me, he might project more so as like a 1B as compared to being that true wide receiver one. But there's also this part of the conversation from a negotiating standpoint from Aiyuk and his camp. They could make the argument at the negotiating table that with wide receiver one targets, because Aiyuk isn't getting the 100 targets that a Jamar Chase gets or a Justin Jefferson gets when he's healthy, Aiyuk could put up stupid numbers as a featured target. Now, what is the new Brandon Aiyuk trade update? Let's throw it to Matt Miller, NFL draft expert, obviously has some good feelers across the NFL. He said, man, I think a Brandon Aiyuk trade is a possibility. I don't want to be the guy who says Brandon Aiyuk gets traded, but there's a lot of smoke there right now. So I at least think it's possible, if not probable. We've seen it before, with A.J. Brown, players like that. So I do think there's at least a possibility. And if so, wide receiver becomes the biggest need for that team in the NFL draft. And I would agree, where if you don't go right tackle or right guard at 31, you might have to go wide receiver or even trade up for a good wide receiver like Brian Thomas out of LSU, who has a little Aiyuk in his game. The A.J. Brown trade is something good to look at, because I do think this is how you can gauge what the asking price could be for Aiyuk. The Eagles traded away 18th overall and 101 overall for A.J. Brown. And the Eagles got A.J. Brown, and then they signed him and extended him to a 4-year, $100 million contract, giving him $25 million per year. Is Aiyuk on par with A.J. Brown when A.J. Brown is humming? You might slightly lean with A.J. Brown, who's in that conversation with the Justin Jeffersons and the Jamar Chase. But with the wide receiver market exploding, Aiyuk with another team, they might give up a first-rounder and give him $25 million per year like A.J. Brown. And is that trade too good for the Niners to turn down? Something to think about. I love having thought-provoking conversations right here on the Niners Report. With that, what would you do? Would you trade Aiyuk for a first-round pick if it's very similar to that A.J. Brown deal? D for deal, N for no deal. Sound off with what you think and what you feel down in the comment section. The offseason is here, but if you want to rep the San Francisco 49ers and you want to support the Niners Report, San Francisco shirts available right now. Chatsports.com/SF. We've sent these across the Atlantic Ocean to Ireland and England. We've sent these across the Pacific Ocean to people in Australia. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Shout out to Dave Towers, as well as my Aussie family, which is Googling the Niners in Australia last week, my dad was telling me, and I popped up immediately. And they were like, that's Chase. And I'm like, good day, mate. I'm here. Chatsports.com/SF. That link is down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Awesome shirts. You support the show. We obviously appreciate that as always. Next up, could the Niners be a landing spot for Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins? San Francisco is listed as one of the top destinations for the free agent to be. This coming from Sports Illustrated here. The Niners will probably make a run at Kirk Cousins, who would be an upgrade over Purdy if he makes a full recovery from his torn Achilles injury. It also would not hurt for the Niners to sign Cousins and have him compete with the young star for the job. But it's also tough seeing Cousins reuniting with Kyle Shanahan, who coached him in Washington without promising the veteran that he would be the starter. There's also the obstacle of creating enough cap space for Cousins, with the Niners currently being $12.3 million over the salary cap. It would not be surprising if the Niners chase him, but they might be better off with Purdy, who now has plenty of postseason experience, and prioritizing the contract extension of wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. The biggest thing that's laughable about that, if the Niners, in some crazy world, signed Kirk Cousins, it wouldn't be to have a quarterback controversy and quarterback competition between him and Brock Purdy. That's thought number one. Number two, Brock Purdy is one of the best value deals in the NFL. He led a team to the Super Bowl with the historic offense making less than $1 million per year. And then at number three, the Brock Purdy slander continues to be crazy. And then at number four, are we really sure that Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy? When you factor in play, age, postseason success, but overall production, Kirk is 1-4 in his playoff career. He has consistently cratered when the pressure cooker gets hot. And Brock Purdy, in 2 years, this past year was his first full year as a starter, is already 4-2 in his playoff career. And look at what Purdy did in his first full campaign as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Number 3 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in yards per attempt, number 1 in deep ball completion percentage, number 4 when pressured, red zone completion rate number 2, true passer rating number 1, QBR number 1, EPA atop all quarterbacks number 1. Yet, everybody wants to tell me that he was lifted up by his supporting cast. His receiver target separation was 14th in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes was number 1. Deep ball catchable rate percentage, number 1. So Brock Purdy, deep ball completion rate number 1, and then deep ball catchable rate also number 1. I thought he couldn't throw the deep ball. I thought he had a noodle arm. I thought that he was elevated by the system and his weapons. All of those narratives have been debunked. So let me ask this question again, and feel free to argue with others down in the comments section. Be polite, of course. You can rip me if you want. I don't care. Are we sure that Kirk is better than Brock Purdy? Because I also thought that Purdy played pretty well in the Super Bowl, considering the circumstances. Play calling let him down. The Niners shooting themselves in the foot let him down. I thought the game management wasn't good. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan did him any favors. Deebo Samuel had a couple of drops. The defense late collapsed a little bit. And you look at what Cousins did in 8 games played in 2023 before the Achilles tear. Yeah, he was really good. But numbers are never the issue with Kirk Cousins. It's the empty numbers that are the issue for me. Completed almost 70% of his passes, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks. QBR of 62.7, not to the likes of Brock Purdy. And over the last 4 years, again, the issue with Cousins is never the production. It's what is he going to be able to do when the lights are shining the brightest in the postseason. And I know that Kyle Shanahan would be able to elevate Kirk Cousins like he did in Washington. And Shanahan really put Cousins on a track where he could land that good deal from the Redskins at the time, and as well as the Minnesota Vikings. And Cousins has been a very durable player throughout his career up until this past year, and productive player. He goes to your organization, you are going to be set in stone for double-digit wins. It's not what I care about. Niners have been able to do that. I love what we've seen from Brock Purdy. Timing, accuracy, anticipation, leadership skills. He's a better athlete and maneuvers around the pocket, make plays happen out of structure better than Kirk Cousins. So I'm typing BP for Brock Purdy, and he's not going to be as expensive as Kirk Cousins either. So let me know which quarterback you would rather have. As always, we appreciate you for watching, and we hope that you were informed, entertained, and we brought you some insightful content here on the show, because that's what we aim to do every single day year-round. Jenny Wolfie! Let's go, Brandon! Aiyuk! Whoop! Jenny Wolfe has been, like me, one of the biggest advocates and fans of Brandon Aiyuk for the last couple of years. She was early in on the Brandon Aiyuk hype train. Tyler, a wise guy, $5 super chat. I heard Kyle in the past say that rookie wide receivers do one thing a day that makes him really mad and annoyed. I think Kyle knows how important Aiyuk is. He totally does, Tyler. And that's such a great question, and we're probably going to expand on that in a mailbag coming up because we're $2 away from $200 in super chats, and if we get there, we're doing a bonus segment here on the show. But just think about everything that the Niners have invested in Brandon Aiyuk. First-round pick in 2020. They've invested so much into his development. They drafted him, saw something special in him, knowing and hoping that at some point he'd be a wide receiver one. He's literally been able to become that. And now, after the first-round pick, after the development, after the early growing pains, because remember when he was in the doghouse in 2021? That was my first year on the beat here, covering the Niners. Look at what he's become since then. And the Niners are just going to give him away for a first-round pick or trade him away because they don't want to pay him any longer? You draft players in hopes that they're going to be a stud. And look at how the Niners have taken care of their homegrown players over the last few years. Fred Warner 2021, George Kittle before that, Deebo Samuel in 2022, and then Nick Bosa in 2023. You're telling me that Brandon Aiyuk, after the previous history of the Niners, is not going to be with this team? The only way he's not is if he wants out. Patrick, $2 super chat, sign Trent Brown and bring him back. We could take a look at the Pro Football Focus grades for Trent Brown this past year. He was a good player for New England. And that was an offense that was tough to watch. Just made you want to take your eyes out. But a dude who I still think has it. And a guy who played really well at a high level in 2023 with New England. 579 snaps at left tackle. So obviously, if the Niners signed him, he'd have to go to right tackle. Effort and attitude issues have been a problem. Not sure Kyle Shanahan loves that. But overall Pro Football Focus grade of 80.2. Run blocking grade of 80.7. Pass blocking grade of 72.8. Blazing to glory. Another $20 super chat. Purdy played better than Jackson did versus the lame Swifties. Also, I want that jersey. Getting a couple of raffle tickets today, my guy. And I agree. And this was a talking point that I had after the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson was the MVP of the NFL, right? Guess who played better against the Chiefs? Brock Purdy. Better QBR and better quarterback rating than Lamar Jackson did in the AFC Championship game. Hutcho! He's the one that got us over $200. So what we're going to do, bonus segment, mailbag coming up on the San Francisco 49ers report because we got past our goal of $200. Also, Rick Nyers a little while ago sent in the $50 super chat. That's a shotgun for my guy. We'll do that, and then we're going to do some draft content here on the show.
And after this seg, before we get into the mailbag, I didn't forget, I owe my beer bong for Steven M. Blazing to Glory. You sent those 50, so that'll come after this seg.
Cheers to Rick Nyers. It's been a while since I've shotgun.
Chug, 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 chug. Woo! Like you never left. It's like you never left.
You know, it's just so easy sometimes.
It's just so easy.
You got a trash can over there? Rick Nyers. That one was for you. Jenny Wolfe, champ, BA in the Bay. I like that. How about if he stays, BA stays in the Bay? That'd be kind of fresh. BA in the Bay. BA in the Bay. BA in the Bay. That one for Jenny Wolfe right there with the super chat.
Make sure you start getting those questions in for this mailbag. We got a few super chats. If you want to send in a super chat, guarantee your question on the show. If you can't, hashtag 49ers. Hashtag 49ers. Get your questions in.
Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video as well. You heard from Chip. Do what the man tells you to do. And you'll be off better in life. I'm telling you that. All right, for the first time, we're going to hop into our draft bag here on the show. I'm excited for this. Some deep dive scouting from yours truly. Let's get to segment number 3. Mailbag after that coming up here on the 49ers Report. We know that with what has happened with the San Francisco 49ers in 2023 and in 2022, partially in 2021, that offensive line is a massive need for this football team. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, this front office, scouting department, coaching staff, they need to get offensive line right going into 2024. So coming up on today's 49ers Report, some Niners offensive line draft targets who San Francisco could pick at number 31 in April's 2024 NFL Draft. Speaking of the draft, next week is the NFL Scouting Combine. I will be there providing you with the best Niners coverage. John Lynch most likely going to speak with the media if Kyle Shanahan is there. Hasn't gone to the Combine the last couple of years. We'll catch up with him as well. We'll also do some interviews with some other content creators. Going to link up with the Pro Football Focus guys to talk draft, targets, as well as free agency, other content creators potentially. And then all of these draft prospects, they're going to have a lot of media availability, and they're going to let us know if they've met with the 49ers. So all of that to come on the Niners Report. We'll be there. This sharp-looking fella will be on camera from Radio Row in Indianapolis from the NFL Scouting Combine. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can stay in the know. With this Niners offensive line, why does San Francisco need to address it? Well, in the 2023 season, the Niners finished 20th among 32 teams in pass block win rate, 55.6%. Not good. Right side was in shambles up until John Feliciano fortified right guard a little bit, and then Colton McKivitz wasn't good all year. And Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl against Kansas City was running for his life. He was under siege all throughout the night. 11 pressures the Chiefs were able to generate on Purdy. 9 of them were unblocked. You want to put your young quarterback in a position to succeed? You're not helping him out when free runners are in his mug for 4 quarters. And the offensive line, it's caused issues over the last couple of years for the Niners, and that's why I'd love to see this team bulk up center, right guard, right tackle, potentially, because Trent Williams has said, and he told me specifically, not retiring, and I still have some good football left. Aaron Banks is a really good player at left guard, one of the only good offensive linemen that this current regime has drafted. Now it's really time to build up in the trenches, which then just helps your offense out because you're going to run it a lot under Kyle Shanahan, and you want to be able to keep Brock Purdy upright. So with that, let's take a look at some draft targets for the Niners along the offensive line who could be available at number 31 overall. Graham Barton is an excellent interior offensive lineman for Duke. He did play right tackle for Duke this past year under Mike Elko, who ended up leaving Duke, but they had a really good year. And Barton played left tackle, right tackle throughout his career with the Blue Devils. Because he has shorter arms, he's projected to be an interior offensive lineman at the NFL level. The Niners are really big when they scout players on arm length. And because of that, that's probably why Barton would be an interior offensive lineman for this team. He could play center, he could play guard. Very good size at 6'5", 314. He's an explosive drive blocker. Really good bend for his size. That's what you need to play tackle in this league. He can really climb to the second level, which is, of course, important in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme. And what I like about him is just the consistency and the effort that he brings to the field every single play. If that doesn't sound like a Kyle Shanahan player, I don't know who does. Coming in at number 2 is Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. This is a prototypical offensive tackle who has the height, the weight, and the arm length to play tackle at the NFL level. And I like his experience to play right tackle and be a right tackle for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, some scouts think that he does have shorter arms. I'm not as much concerned about his shorter arms as compared to Barton. But what's good about Morgan is the positional versatility, tackle and guard versatility. So early in his career, he could slide to the interior, he could play guard. And then as he becomes more seasoned, he could pop out the tackle. A little bit lighter, 6'4", 312, but the quick feet to make up for that lack of size, quote unquote. He has range, he has aggression, and a solid kick slide to really get him started right after the ball is snapped. That's what we see from guys like Trent Williams and Lane Johnson, who are two of the best tackles in the game. So with that, this is today's poll question and our pinned comment for today's video. What position do the Niners need to target at number 31 overall? Let me know down below right now. Today's 49ers Report is sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America, and you can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick two or more players. You choose more or less on the projected stats. And football season is in the rear view. NBA coming out of the All-Star break, but I'm looking ahead to baseball season. Baseball is actually my first love before I absolutely fell in love with the game of football. Austin Riley, more than 35.5 home runs. I'm going to go more there. Freddie Freeman, more than 26.5 home runs and 176.5 hits. I like the more on those selections. Ronald Acuna, more than 37.5 home runs. And then Aaron Nola, more than 195.5 strikeouts. You can combine your picks with different sports, but either way, get in on the action with PrizePicks. $100 deposit match, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use the code CLNS. Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. This is a fascinating prospect for a multitude of reasons. He has 8 career starts with the Georgia Bulldogs, who over the last few years have been arguably the best college program. They won back-to-back national championships in 2022 and in 2021. And in the college football playoff against Ohio State, very good edge rushers on that Buckeyes team, Mims balled out. But the lack of experience is a little bit of an issue. 8 career starts is not a lot to really gauge how good he could be or to try to pinpoint the flaws that he has. But when you have good feet and when you move in a nimble way at 6'7", 330 pounds, a lot of teams are going to be willing to take a chance on you. And what the Niners like, which is what I talked about a little bit earlier with a couple of these prospects, they love arm length because you can engage with those defensive linemen and just keep them away from you. And then if they get past you, you have that arm length to kind of push them to the side to give a quarterback like Brock Purdy a clean pocket. And Mims has the arm length at 6'7", 330. But the issue here with the Niners might be this. If he's not ready to play, and if he's too raw, does a win-now team take a shot on him in the 20s or at 31 overall? Testing is going to be important at the scouting combine in Indianapolis next week, and so too are the interviews, because why didn't he play a lot with the Georgia Bulldogs? He's going to get pressed on that by front offices. Tyler Guyton is a player who doesn't have experience concerns or issues. He played a lot with the Oklahoma Sooners and was a very productive player. What's good about him as a Niners draft target is that unlike some of these other players who may have played left tackle or played on the interior, Tyler Guyton was a full-time right tackle with Oklahoma, a college program that's done a great job of developing offensive linemen for the next level. You think of Creed Humphrey with the Kansas City Chiefs, great center. You think about Lane Johnson, potential future Hall of Famer with the Eagles. They've done a great job of just developing dogs in the trenches. And for Guyton, he is also a swift mover and has a lot of size at 6'7", 320. Very strong anchor, meaning he has a very strong lower half. And for some of these defensive ends like Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, who dominated Colton McKivitz in week 1, when they get that leverage and when they have that bend and flexibility to get so low, they can get underneath these quote-unquote stiffer offensive tackles. Guyton, though, is athletic enough, nimble enough, and has that strong anchor where he's not moved off of his spot all that often. Still a little bit raw as far as his technique goes, but he has all of the makings, all of the skills to be a future Pro Bowler in this league. And then lastly, Troy Fautanu out of Washington. This is another player who in college played a little bit of tackle and played a little bit of guard. When NFL draft evaluators try to figure out what he's going to play at the next level, they're going to look at his scouting profile, hopefully here on the Niners Report, and look at this. That this guy is twitchy and nasty at 6'4", 319. Violent hands with a lot of power. He could play right tackle. I think he's better suited as a guy who's going to be an all-pro guard in this league. Now, I spoke with him when I was in Houston for the College Football Playoff National Championship, and I asked him, because the Niners need offensive line help, if that's an offensive system that he's kept an eye on, if he's kept tabs on it. He said, yeah, that's a system I would love to play in. And I also asked him, a lot of people think that you're more so going to be a guard or tackle. He said, whatever position that an NFL team wants me to play, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to succeed. But with all of these traits here, when I watch him, when I scout him, I think that he's ready for NFL snaps right now, and that fits the timeline for the San Francisco 49ers being a Super Bowl contender. And even though they lost against the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the Super Bowl favorites going into 2024. Do you want more Niners draft content? The good news is we're going to the Scouting Combine next week, so we're going to do some NFL draft content. But show me that you want more stuff like this by typing me, but also hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. Super Chat menu for today. We got past our goal of $200 in Super Chat, so because of that, we're doing a bonus segment. Mac Daddy, a $5 Super Chat. All Super Chats get a shout out. Every $10 or more Super Chat we get throughout the entire month of February, you enter the raffle to win a Niners jersey. $50 gets you on our Niners helmet right here. And we've added 2 more people today. Really excited about it. $100, whoever sends in the most $100 Super Chats throughout the entire month of February gets a customized football from us. And as for the new additions to our Niners helmet, we're going to put an SS here for Steven Sierra. Just drop the sticker. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let me get it. We're going to salvage it. I got it, Steven. Never doubt me. SS for Steven Sierra. Going on the Niners helmet. And then we have Blazing to Glory going on here as well. There have been a limited amount of people who have sent in $100 Super Chats. You send in a couple right now, we might just send you a Niners football right now, to be honest with you. If somebody sends in 2 $100 Super Chats, we will send you a customized football right now. How about that? 2 $100 Super Chats from the same person, you get a customized 49ers Report football. Mac Daddy with the 5. If we don't use every single pick on the offensive line, I'm going to go off the rails. We've squandered so many Super Bowl teams because of bad offensive line play. 2021, 2022, 2023. And you wonder why. I just did a whole segment on 5 offensive linemen right there. Jenny Wolfie! That's a raffle ticket for a Niners jersey. She said, need Purdy and Aiyuk. Blazing to Glory. When is the jersey giveaway? To be determined there, Blazing to Glory, because I didn't find out until late yesterday that we're going to the NFL Combine next week because our credentials got approved by the NFL. So I'm looking at the calendar here. And depending on the internet, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go live from Indianapolis next week because of Wi-Fi connection, but because of how crazy it's going to get. So let me take a look at the calendar here. Chip is going to go get his beer bong, then we'll do that mailbag. So let's see. I'll be at the Combine from Monday night through Saturday. So that's the 26th through the 2nd. if we don't go live next week, let's just call it this way. Let's announce the winner the next time that we're for sure live on the 5th of March. That is 2 Tuesdays from now. We'll announce the winner for our February winner Tuesday, March 5th. I'm going to bookmark that because I don't want to make any promises in case the internet connection is so bad, because Super Bowl Radio Row, we tried to go live. The internet connection was so bad, we couldn't go live. And then we couldn't do some of the things that we had planned. Now, the content was awesome. Multiple videos every single day. But let's call it Tuesday, March 5th, when I'm back in the Chat Sports studios. We'll announce our February winners. Let's do that. I think that's a good deal. Also, New York Giants now, yesterday, got $500 in Super Chats. We're at 235 right now. Can we beat New York Giants now, which up until this point has been the biggest Super Chat total for a weekly live show at the entire company? I'd love to be able to own that name. And like I said, somebody sends in 2 $100 Super Chats. That's 2 raffle tickets for our Niners jersey. You're in the running to be our 49ers Report February MVP, and we'll send you a customized football right now. Or you could just send in a $200 Super Chat. We're making deals with the people. Chip's going to get his beer bong. He'll come back, and then we will do that mailbag. Get those questions in right now. Hashtag 49ers, or send in a Super Chat. Gina G said, got it. Thanks, Chase. Is Jenny Wolfie in the house? Where? I didn't see it. Oh, Jenny Wolfie. Oh, I was thinking Jeannie Wyatt. The J-Dub got me mixed up. Of course, Jenny Wolfie's in the chat. We have not seen Jeannie Wyatt since the Super Bowl. I think she's a little bit sad about the Super Bowl loss, as are we, but my job is to continue to provide content. That's what we're doing. So Jenny Wolfie, need Purdy, and Aiyuk. And then we have KRVR14. Let me get that jersey. Need that. Bang, bang, Niner gang. I think it's an awesome deal. You send in a 10, you're in the running to win like a $150, $200 jersey. And KRVR is a first-time Super Chatter. Steven Sierra, another 5.
Oh.
You never disappoint, Chase, as long as I watch your show. Thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Much love, my brother. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the cause. Niners. You know, I was in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl, as many of you know. And we're in Las Vegas, right? So you hear a lot of Raiders. But as the week grew on and more people started to get to Las Vegas, it became very hard to decipher what was Raiders and Niners from afar, of course. Like if somebody says it right next to you, you know what they're saying, right? But you would hear these echoes in the Mandalay Bay Hotel. And I'm like, I think we're hearing a lot of Niners as Niner fans just took over Sin City. Steven, thank you for that. Blazing to glory. What's the Jets look like?
He meant jersey.
Oh, the jersey? Oh, it's just a jersey from Fanatics. It's just a regular jersey. And whoever wins, we're going to take a look at the jerseys available. If you want a customized jersey, we can get that, or a player availability. If they're available, of course, we're going to order those for you. Niner Faithful in the Sunshine State from Joji. Nice.
This one here, for all the real ones, is for Steven, for Blazing, sending in those 50s.
Let's
back
go.
to back. Shout out to y'all.
Back-to-back 50s.
Little Thirsty Thursday here on Margarita Day, National Margarita Day. Let's get it.
And those 50s going towards some margaritas for the Chat Sports crew today. Mike Concho said, Ronnie Lott in a 3XL, please.
Woo!
Blazing to glory, do I still get my raffles? It wouldn't let me send $10, just $9.99. Of course, bro.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
We're not going to go penny pinching on you, my guy. And let's make
funny.
a deal. Another 50, I'll shotgun another Happy Dad.
Woo!
That'll get us to 300. That'll get us to 300. And get those questions in now. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat. Mike Concho, you owe me a penny. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're real ones.
If you want a question, get it in right now. Hashtag 49ers.
Yes, sir.
Could use a couple more here.
Last call. Outside of the super chats, you want a question to get answered. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat.
Last call. I've seen some people asking questions, but they're not using hashtag 49ers. Make sure you use that hashtag, just like Hayes right here. Use the hashtag just like Hayes.
For sure.
No spaces, just hashtag 49ers. The 570. Where's the 570?
570 is in NEPA. That's where I used to work. That's like Scranton.
Oh, okay.
Scranton area. Chip's from Bucks County, so he's a Pennsylvania guy.
067, baby. The 067.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Question from Crazy Niners fan. All right.
Last call. Fan. Good job by you.
Last call. We're about to get into it. Last call.
Last call. Last call. Last call.
Blazing to Glory asks, how long have you been an announcer for? Or is this your first job?
This is not my first job. Long and windy road for me to get here. So I went to Temple University. Actually, I went to 3 colleges because I fucked around in high school, and I didn't really care about school. I've never been a big school guy. I can't concentrate in school. Really struggle with it. I just don't like being in a lecture hall, sitting down and just listening to a professor who's boring, not engaging, who doesn't challenge me for like an hour, hour and a half. Like, I just can't do it. So that was more so the case in college. But in high school, I just didn't really like school. Like, I didn't like the platform. I didn't like having to get up at like 6 in the morning, then go to school all day. They feed you shitty food. I was just miserable all the time. Yeah, don't make me remember it. Exactly, Chip. So yeah, my grades weren't good in high school. I think I had like a 2.6 GPA, but I always wanted to get into broadcasting, so I had to go to a community college, Delaware County Community College, and I went there for a semester, and I realized that I was getting into too much trouble, so I had to go to an actual college. I went to Millersville University in Lancaster for 2 semesters, and I got my grades up at Delco, and then I got my grades up at Millersville, went to Temple University. I was there for 3.5 years, studied broadcasting. I probably did more broadcasting work than I did actually going to school because that's what I wanted to do. So then I moved out to Springfield, Illinois. Shout out to the 217. I was there for 2 years, Channel 1450, covering high school and college sports on the local scene. Moved back to Pennsylvania. I was in Scranton, WNEP, for 3.5 years. And then I came to Chat Sports when I was about 29 years old, March of 2021. And I've been here covering the Niners since, as well as the entire NFL, NBA, college football, Major League Baseball. We do it all because you can't be a one-way Steph. Words of wisdom. He's back, my guy. And look who it is. Alicia. Alicia's back in the building. She's taken a big break from social media, I saw. So she's not on X, she's not on Instagram, but she's back here on YouTube. Alicia!
Welcome back. We love it. We love it.
Hope you're doing well with the health stuff, Alicia. Everybody misses you. Everybody's been in the chat. Where's Alicia? Where's Lisa Hernandez? Where is, and that's Alicia's mom, where is, people have been asking for Jeannie Wyatt. People have been asking for the faithful ladies. $50 super chat gets us to $300 in supers, and I'll shotgun another beer. What we're going to do right now, just got to get to 8, man. That's all we got to do. We're going to take your questions right now, bonus segment, because we got past $200 in donations. Let's answer some questions right now. Yo, what's good? Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, we're going to open up the floor. We're going to do a mailbag because our loyal subscribers have some questions about the draft, free agency. They want to talk about how this Niners team can improve. So let's take your questions right now from all of our smart, loyal, and real one subscribers. We begin with Tyler O. Wise Guy, $5 super chat. I heard Kyle Shanahan in the past say that rookie wide receivers do one thing a day that makes him really mad and annoyed. Kyle knows how important Aiyuk is. And it's funny that you bring that up because Kyle Shanahan, son of Mike Shanahan, we know that. But when you're a coach's son who has been at the level of winning Super Bowls as a coordinator, as a head coach, who's looked at as a great offensive mind in the history of the NFL, you don't settle and you're not content with just being good. You want to be great. But when you're the son of a coach at that level, you're always pointing out nuances, little mistakes. And Shanahan has adopted that. And that's why he's become a great coach at the NFL level. Kyle Shanahan also used to train with some Broncos wide receivers back in the day. Rod Smith. And he's around some great players at the NFL level. Then he played wide receiver at Texas. And that's a really high level of football. And then at the NFL level, he was a wide receivers coach. He's been an offensive coordinator. He worked his way up to become a head coach in this league. And he understands that the little things add up, the little things matter. So he wants wide receivers to be great. Remember when Brandon Aiyuk was in the doghouse in 2021? Aiyuk, let that be known. Kyle Shanahan, let that be known. And look at how it's worked out. Aiyuk this year, it all came to fruition for him. Second team All-Pro. And I think the Niners are going to do everything in their power to bring back Brandon Aiyuk because drafted him in the first round. They've invested a lot of time into developing him. And they drafted him out of Arizona State after he was a junior college guy, envisioning him becoming what he became in 2023. And you think back to what the Niners have done the last couple of years. 2020 offseason, homegrown talent, signed George Kittle to a historic deal. Did the same with Fred Warner in 2021. Then they signed Deebo Samuel in 2022. Top 10 highest paid wide receiver money. And then in 2023, they made Nick Bosa the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football. I think they're going to do the same with Brandon Aiyuk. He's going to be a Niner for a long time. Patrick, $2 super chat right here. Sign Trent Brown and bring him back. A lot of people don't realize that Trent Brown used to play for the Niners. He became a really good player with the Oakland Raiders and the New England Patriots, and his contract was just voided by New England as they tinker and enter that rebuilding process with that roster. Trent Brown, really, really good player in 2023. And if the Niners don't want to address right tackle in free agency, or in the draft, they could address right tackle with Trent Brown in free agency. 579 snaps at left tackle for the Patriots this past year. 2 penalties, 3 sacks allowed, 6 hits allowed, 17 pressures, Pro Football Focus grade of 80.2, run blocking grade of 80.7, and a pass blocking grade of 72.8. Attitude, a little bit of an issue. Work ethic, a little bit of an issue. But if you're succeeding under Bill Belichick with all of the demands that he puts on his players, you can succeed under head coach Kyle Shanahan. Look out for Trent Brown as a player who might be able to be had for an affordable rate. Mac Daddy, $5 super chat. If we don't use every single pick on the offensive line, I'm going to go off the rails. We've squandered so many Super Bowl teams because of bad offensive line play. And it's wild how the Niners didn't even draft an offensive lineman in the 2023 draft, because offensive line cost them in 2021 in the NFC title game against the Rams. Remember when Aaron Donald ended that game? When Trent Williams was hurt? In 2022, it cost you in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles. And then in 2023, it partially cost you against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I have 5 draft prospects who we talked about here on the show of interior offensive linemen, right tackles, left tackles, who the Niners could draft at number 31 overall, or players that they might need to trade up for in the 20s. Graham Barton at Duke. He played left tackle at Duke, but I think he's going to be a center or a guard at the NFL level, short arms. Jordan Morgan, some people don't like his arm length. I think it's fine because I think he's a lengthy player. He played offensive tackle at Arizona. Amarius Mims, not a lot of action at Georgia, but when he did play against Ohio State in the college football playoff, he was awesome and just a stupid athlete. Tyler Guyton, plenty of experience at right tackle for Oklahoma. And then Troy Fautanu, he played left tackle at Washington. Talked to him at the college football playoff in Houston. He said he's familiar with the Niners scheme. I think he's probably a better guard at the NFL level. He can step in. He could play right away. More of your questions coming up, but first, today's Niners Report is sponsored by Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app and the only DFS app that I use because they have the best deal. It's the easiest to use app, and it's just the best daily fantasy sports app. $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. You see some of my Major League Baseball picks going into the 2024 MLB season. Austin Riley, more than 35.5 taters. Freddie Freeman. I love this one. 26.5 home runs. I like the more there. Freddie Freeman, more than 176.5 hits. As long as he doesn't get injured, I think he's a shoe-in there. Ronald Acuna in that stupid Braves lineup from top to bottom, 1 through 9, more than 37.5 home runs. And then Aaron Nola, more than 195.5 strikeouts. Daily fantasy sports made easy thanks to Prize Picks. Pick 2 or more players, choose more or less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Blazing to Glory 1, $10 super chat. Do you think Brandon Aiyuk just has the wrong people in his ear? I feel like he really wants to stay. It's not about that. Brandon Aiyuk carries himself the way that you want an athlete to carry himself. Works hard, cares about his craft. You don't have the footwork and the route running ability that he has without getting in the lab. Aiyuk's parents were Niner fans. Aiyuk grew up as a Niner fan. Blazing to glory. What this comes down to is not the wrong people in his ear. What it comes down to, leverage. Brandon Aiyuk was a top 10 wide receiver this year in a lot of different categories. He's entering the final year of his contract, 5th-year option, $14 million guaranteed. But beyond that, no financial longevity or stability. And him and his camp are trying to leverage the Niners into paying him on par with Deebo Samuel, 7th highest paid wide receiver going into 2024, and being a top 10 highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. So when they float things out there like BA to Vegas, BA wants out, BA wants wide receiver 1 targets, it's all about leverage in trying to uptick the future contract. Did anybody see how emotional Aiyuk was at his locker room during locker room cleanout day? He's crying, talking about how special this Niners team is. When asked what he wants to win a Super Bowl. Look, you can go to the Raiders if you want. They don't have a quarterback. I know you have that relationship with Antonio Pierce because he coached under Herm Edwards when you were there at Arizona State. But quarterback questions, when have the Raiders done anything? You know under Kyle Shanahan, given the kinship, the camaraderie, the continuity that you now have with Brock Purdy, you can put up numbers, be productive, and compete year in, year out, and you're a fan favorite. It just makes too much sense to ask out. Jonathan Lamont Page, real one. I still think we go edge in the first round. Go quality offensive lineman in the later rounds. What do you think? This is a Niners team that likes investing along the defensive line. They could certainly do that. And it's funny how the Niners always seemingly need an edge, even though they've invested a lot there. Drake Jackson not hitting, that hurts them. Chase Young, they traded for him. So that goes to show you how they care about edge rushers, but he might be too pricey in free agency. If you go edge at 31, there are still going to be really good offensive linemen in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds where you could address the position there. I'd just like to get a bona fide baller. And you do that by drafting an offensive lineman early. The good news for San Francisco is very deep offensive line class. Byron McCants, what's up, Chase? Not much, man. Just chilling with all of you. I know everyone is ripping the Niners for the heartbreaking loss, but what are your thoughts on 2 straight Super Bowls with no offensive holding calls against the Chiefs? A little bit fishy. The Chiefs in the regular season called for a lot of holds. Then when it comes time for the Super Bowl against a really good vaunted defensive line in San Francisco and an Eagles defensive line that led the NFL in sacks in 22 with 70, 15 more than any team, and there's no offensive line holding calls. When you have Patrick Mahomes, when the only formula to beat him we saw in the 2020 season, when the Buccaneers set the record for the most quarterback pressures in the history of the Super Bowl against a quarterback. They pressured him 29 to 55 times. Yet no holding calls for a Chiefs offensive line that's been kind of suspect. You had the turf situation 2 years ago for the Eagles. They couldn't find their footing. No holding calls. Niners, that defensive line, they were awesome in the first half. Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave. They were balling, man. It's a little bit fishy. I'm down to dive into a conspiracy theory. You know what's funny about conspiracy theories? A lot of them end up being true. That's all I'll say. Kevin Butler, what do you think about Jeff Ulbrich? I think if you want a defensive coordinator who has familiarity with the Niners, played there 2000, 2009, who has familiarity with Kyle Shanahan, was the linebackers coach with Atlanta when Shanahan was there as the OC, who has familiarity with the Niners scheme. He is the defensive coordinator for the Jets, Robert Saleh's scheme. A guy who's going to bring a lot of energy to the table. Jeff Ulbrich sounds like a good name. I'd rather go him over Nick Sorensen or any of the other internal candidates who are rumored to be the next Niners defensive coordinator. I like Jeff Ulbrich. If you're not going to go Bill Belichick, he's not a bad option. If you're not going to go Mike Vrabel, not a bad option. I'd go for the splash higher, though. Belichick, Vrabel, my top 2 options. Make sure you subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. If you want daily videos on the Niners, Bang Bang Niner Gang, we got you covered here on the show. We're $40 away from $300 in Super Chats. If we get there in the next 2 minutes, I'm taking down another shotgun on Margarita Day.
2 minutes.
I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock. $40 away from $300. We get there, another shotgun. Words of wisdom, my man who I met up with, him and his wife Ava in Las Vegas, he said, Las Vegas should host the Super Bowl 75% of the time. Your thoughts? I don't disagree with them being a Super Bowl host city more often. I think it's one of the best stadiums in the NFL. As far as entertainment, city's awesome. I'm not going to liken Las Vegas to Austin as far as being a big city in a little city's body, because that's more glorified with Austin, which I think is an overrated city. But you can tell Las Vegas, Austin were never designed to be large cities like they are, and Vegas is working on that. But Vegas is a better city than Austin, a better host city. They have to work out some of the logistics. I thought getting around Vegas at moments was a little bit tricky. You go a couple blocks off the strip, gets a little bit sketchy. But I had 3 of the best meals that I've ever had on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I went to one of the cooler places that I've been to, little speakeasy vibe with words of wisdom at Circa Hotel on, what was that, Friday night? Great time. So Vegas is awesome, and it just fits. Big event, big time city. Like when you think about a prize fight, when you think about a marquee sporting event or a marquee concert, theatrical event, whatever, like Vegas fits that bill. Vegas is perfect for a Super Bowl city. No doubt. And it was good to meet up with words. Alicia, Vegas is awesome. I agree. Almost at 2 minutes on our Super Chat shot clock. If we don't get there, all Gucci. We're just going to dip out and hop on out of here. 4 segments in the canister. Jenny Wolfie, it just told me to subscribe. I've been. Well, I'm glad that you have been, and I know that you have been. All right. 2-minute super chat shot clock has expired. We'll give you about a 20-second delay. If not, we out you.
Good Thursday. A good Thursday here.
A great Thursday. A lot of fun.
Tremendous.
Anybody else in the chat? All right, we'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2. Words! Bro, I hope you can make it out for my 50th birthday, September 12th. Circa and drinks on me with another cigar. $100 one. Man, those drinks were awesome. We went to, the Legacy Lounge, I guess you would call it. Legacy Bar at Circa Casino with Words. And it was one of the coolest places I've been to. I love a speakeasy vibe. I'm kind of over like the club vibe. We did that earlier in the week when we somehow stumbled into a Steve Aiyuk concert at a club. And it's cool to experience here and there, right? But I like going to a place where you can have good conversations, where you can converse with one another, talk about real life shit. Football, life, politics, music. I was doing that all with Words. But you tell the bartender at Legacy Bar at Circa what your taste preferences are. Words was like, I like egg whites. I like this. I like that. They make a drink based off of that. And if you don't like it, they'll make you another one. And we were having some good stogies too. A cigar with the margarita tonight. Whew, that sounds pretty damn good. Words with the 5. All right, we're going to sign off. Jenny Wolfie, people are showing her love. Gina G love. Words of Wisdom love. King's Family Gaming. Donald Johnson, I see y'all as well. Alicia, hope you continue to be on the right track with your health. For Chip, I'm Chase. What a show on this Thursday. NFL Combine next week. You don't want to miss it. Great coverage to come. Peace.